Hello, this is a video presentation about editing CR2 RAW files in Digital Photo Professional 4 software from Canon. So next one, this I suppose will be fairly similar to the initial pictures we had, like this one or this one. So I'm going to copy the recipe from here. See, it takes quite a while to load all the changes we've done, and it still loads. I'm not sure if you copy the recipe before it is finished loading, if it's going to actually copy the entire recipe. So I'd rather wait. I'm going to copy this one and move it over to here. See how far it can get us. And it doesn't have that much of an effect, to be honest. So I'm going to undo that with Ctrl Z and look for another picture. Let's say this one. Let's see if this one maybe will be better. Nope, not at all. Well, let's try this one then. Because, yeah, no, not this one either. Well, then let's try an auto correction. See what it does. Didn't do much, to be honest. But it did some correction, very minor ones. But the picture looks now better than it did before. We will need to increase the saturation just a tiny bit on the green part. And I would also like to get some more details from the sky, make it more blue. On the other hand, we have the mountains, which are too blue. And what we'll do is we'll just decrease the blue in the middle section. That should take care of the mountains. You see they are turning green. We can get the aqua a bit more saturation, but then you can see it still attacks the mountains. So yeah, this is more natural, I suppose. Just like this. Not much we can do in here. We'll just maybe decrease the red from the top. Increase it down at the bottom, the same for the green. And we'll move the control point a bit higher because we want the sky to be more green. So if you look at both versions, the new one is definitely better. Although it's a question of personal preference, how you want to deal with the haze that you can see around here. I'm gonna leave it like that, see if I can use it later on. Next picture, again burned out, so we'll try to use this recipe, see how it works out. Alright, that's something we can work with. We will have to decrease the highlights still. We cannot do it. So we'll have to use the curves, luminance RGB, and then just basically reduce the highlights even further. Now obviously the picture is too dark, but we're only taking care of the highlights right now. I'm really trying to get this area to be less burned out than it is, but apparently the picture is beyond salvageable. Next one, again totally burned out. So I'm gonna use the ones with the sheep. Now this picture, I can't use this really because this has a cropping factor, so I'd have to redo the cropping, but I'll use the previous one. See how it turns out. I'm not really that happy with it. It's still better than the original. This thing doesn't look genuine. There's something wrong with this part. And I think this is because it's washed out. So I'm going to increase the shadows. But I'm going to increase the contrast as well. I want to reduce some of the haze that is here. make it more crisp. Now we'll bump up the saturation even further, but reduce the saturation of the blue part. Yeah. Now about the sky. What do we do about the sky? Well, the only way to do it is go to the curves tool again. Yeah. Let's darken down the aqua color and make it more blue. Not much we can do about it now. We'll just increase the saturation of the green and orange to make the foreground stand out a bit more. Just a tiny bit. I'm gonna move it to red a little bit. Yep. Green to yellow, but we need more green definitely. Yep, that's more or less what we can do with this picture. I'll leave it as is, come back to it later. This one, well, we could use this part of the picture somehow, and it's really nice. Even if we increase the saturation, just it's really colorful, very, very kind of dreamy in its quality. Don't overdo it here. Actually, you don't need to increase the saturation. The picture is really colorful, just tiny bit. Maybe increase the violet or the purple so that the flowers stand out more. Yeah. Okay, next one. This one is a bit too dark in the dark areas and bright in the bright areas, so typical contrast problem with the camera. We're going to increase the tolerance for the highlight, reduce the increase. Yep. Now we're going to bump up the shadows, and that should help a lot. Yep, there it is. It does reduce the highlights. That should clear this thing up. There it is. Now she's more in the picture rather than somehow missing from it. The color temperature needs to change as well. Yeah. 6700, that's what we like. And just bump up the saturation just 17%, not much, don't overdo it. Next one. Again, similar situation to the original picture. So we're gonna copy the recipe from here. So basically you have a bright sky that is too bright, and a foreground which is exposed more or less correctly. I expect this will be too much for this picture, but no, you can see the effect is pretty nice. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it as is. It's nice. Next one, same story, paste recipe. And it additionally flipped the picture, which is something I don't want. I'm going to leave it as for now. This is good. Maybe I'll reduce the redness just a tiny bit, because these beads here stand out far too much. They are not natural, although they were really really red in reality. So that's more or less why I took the picture, really. Okay, next picture, some people playing, I don't even know how it's called in English. Obviously way too dark, so we're gonna bring up temperature, the brightness, and we need to increase the temperature as well because it's bluish. They regain the color almost immediately. Even more, there it is. That's how it really looked like. Not much more you need to do, maybe bump up the shadows just a tiny bit. Oh yes, there it is. Now you can see the best effect is if the picture is just not terrible, then you can really do a lot with it. And we'll increase the saturation quite a lot in this one, but we'll reduce the redness because these are kids, so you know they're red in the face by their nature. But now this looks way better than the original. Next picture, same story, paste recipe. Yep, there. Nothing more that needs to be done. This dog. What we need is again reduce the highlight because in here it's just too bright. Increase the shadows. Yes, good. Now you can see the little dog clearly, but on the contrary, we can actually increase the contrast just a tiny bit. You see the difference is that the bright areas are not as bright. This picture, actually I'm gonna use this recipe. Unlike this picture, which was almost correctly exposed, this one is too dark, so I'm gonna paste the, yeah, there it is, instant improvement. Although the backpacks in the back are kind of interfering with the dog, so I'm gonna reduce the saturation of red even further, and the orange, and the red saturation is, yeah, there it is. We don't want these backpacks to stand out, we want the dog to stand out because, well, the dog is kind of ordinary, but I like the dog, so I'll increase the saturation even more. Yeah, it's a bit, yeah, this picture is cluttered. There's too much going on in the background, so it's difficult to focus on the dog, but still, maybe with GIMP you can mask around it and then increase the blur of the background even more. Next picture, oh, nice picture, but too bright, way too bright. Let's try to use the original recipe from this one. There it is. It's too blue, so we have to reduce the blues, actually increase the blues in the sky even more. And now I'm gonna reduce the green and the red. Oh, sorry, increase the green, the red, and increase the green. By increasing green and red, you obviously simply reduce the bluishness of the picture. I'm gonna move up this control point all the way here and reduce the bluishness in here. Just be careful, be careful. You get these artifacts like here, which the blue parts, which are normally not very exposed, are overexposed. So I'm gonna correct this one a bit. Yeah. I tried to salvage the sky, but it didn't work out, so I'm gonna remove this one and just make it less blue. Yeah. And it's washed out a bit, so still increase the saturation and especially increase the saturation of the green color. And move it all the way to yellow. Yep, and then remove the saturation up in the general saturation and increase the yellows, the oranges, because that's the kind of picture we want to have in here. See, this one looks just strange. This one looks better, although the roof is still bluish. So maybe we can go with decreased blues. There it is.